Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's service. We'll begin this morning's service with the ringing of the kansho, followed by the recitation of the Shotsuki names by Reverend Mukojima. Following the recitation of the Shotsuki names, we will then begin sutra chanting of Sanbutsuge. After Sanbutsuge, we will then be led by the high school Dharma School class in the reading of the Threefold Refuge. Following that, we will then have a Dharma Message by Reverend Mukojima. Please enjoy this morning's service.
Today, on this occasion of the Mountain View Buddhist Temple's May Shotsuki Memorial Service, we come before the image of Amida Buddha to express our sincere respect for and gratitude to the Shotsuki honorees. As I read the Shotsuki names, please join me in silent meditation so that we may think deeply on their continuing influence on our lives. Robert Aliawa, Naka Shikasue, Reverend Philip Eidelman, Judy Fruscio, Ruth Goto, レイバン・グレイ、イサノ・ハマダ、ゲリー・ヒロツ、ヒロノリ・ホンダ、ドクター・ユタ・ホンゴ、ケイ・ゲルウェ、ロバート・イマイ、ナンシー・イシイ、石野・石川、信吉・石川、キャロライン・泉、友幸・神崎、安子・刈谷、ジョー・川口、誠・川口、重子・川本、清野・川野、秀夫・馬丸、純・楠本、ロイ・松本、エドワード・森本、花・長尾、チャールズ・長門石、美奈子・中本、クラーク・中村、吉人・中村、ハリー・中野、直子・中島、純・成富、千春・西村、ハーバート・西村、はじめ・尾形、桃代・荻野、吉弘・岡崎、彦・奥、レオナルド・奥、ジョン・奥村、ジョー・奥野、地図を栄、浩二・栄、ジョージ・佐藤、重見佐藤、ベリー・シガワラ、フランク・清水、メイ・下口、和子・スプリンガー、愛子・谷口、三江・富樫、房子・徳田、住江・友田、ルシア・タオン、ジョージ・塚川、聖子・津村、住上田、荒レク・上原、虎尾渡辺、ジョン・ウィットルズ、ペギー・山口、フランシス・山地、ジョン・山地。Please put your hands together in gasho to show our deepest feelings of gratitude to this family, deceased family and friends who have brought us together today to encounter the Buddha Dharma. Namondo, 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 Namondo. Namondo,
Please join me in Gasho. Difficult is it to receive life in human form, yet now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, yet now we are able to hear it.
If we do not cross over to the truth in this present life, in which life shall we cross over? Let us assemble together and sincerely take refuge in the three treasures of the truth.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
My sincere wish is that together with all sentient beings, we understand and experience the great path of enlightenment and to awaken the supreme Bodhi mind.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
My sincere wish is that together with all sentient beings, we deeply enter the storehouse of the Dharma and attain wisdom as deep as the ocean.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
My sincere wish is that together with all sentient beings, we live harmoniously as the great assembly of disciples of the Buddha, freed from all delusions.
The excellent, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas.
Now we are able to see and hear it, feel and accept it. Let us thoroughly understand the true and real essence of the Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Namanda Butsu 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 Namanda Butsu. Foolish beings, we are full of ignorance and blind passion. Our desires are countless, and anger, wrath, jealousy, and envy are overwhelming, arising without pause. To the very last moment of life, they do not cease, nor disappear, nor exhaust themselves. Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your participation in our online Shotsuki Memorial Service this morning. I trust you and your family are doing well. I hope that many of you have been vaccinated by now. We can finally see indications that we can get back to normal. But until we get over this pandemic completely, let's continue to be cautious to avoid contracting the virus. If we do so, we can all get together in person soon. Fortunately, I got the first dose of the vaccine a few weeks ago, and my second dose will be next week. I hope that vaccinating the majority of our population will mean that coronavirus will no longer be such a threat to all of us. This virus has been a terrible concern throughout the world, but we should also be careful not to develop other serious illness in our daily lives. I don't know whether any of you have already contracted the serious illness that I will talk about now, but unfortunately, I've already become its victim. Sadly, this illness seems to stay with us until our life ends. The symptoms are very complicated, which makes it difficult for us to realize that we are even sick. That's horrible, isn't it? The lifelong illness I suffer from is called a foolish being full of blind passion syndrome, or Bombu syndrome. Have you ever heard of it? This is a serious illness because selfishness and ego constantly confuse mind and body. Because of this, it's extremely difficult to maintain emotional balance. Although I was diagnosed with it at birth, I had never even noticed that I was even sick until the day my great teacher told me. Do you know who explained this illness clearly to me? The great teacher who told me about this illness was Shinran Shoni. Yes, he is the founder of our Jodo Shinshu. It was he who made me understand that I'm very, very sick. When he clearly described my symptoms, I was very embarrassed. I'd like to reveal to you the kind of the terrible symptoms that I'm suffering from. I cannot see all things as they are. I always think about my own convenience first instead of that of another person. I always remember how I helped others, but forget quickly how I have been helped by others. I always remember that I have problems and extra work because of others, but don't realize how much trouble I've caused others. I'm good at finding faults in other people, but not in myself. I can see somebody as a good person when I am benefited, and sometimes see someone as a bad person because of my selfish thoughts, even if they are the same person. I always want something which I don't have without realizing how satisfied I am right now. I always become irritated when I get stuck in a traffic jam without realizing that I'm also one of the causes of it. What do you think about my terrible symptoms? I have a serious case of bamboo syndrome, don't you think? There are many more symptoms, but it would take too long, and it is also very embarrassing. In the opening meditation, I shared with you words from Shinran's writing called Once Calling and Many Calling, which goes, "Foolish beings, we are full of ignorance and blind passion. Our desires are countless, and the anger, wrath, jealousy, and envy are overwhelming, arising without pause. To the very last moment of life, they do not cease, nor disappear, nor exhaust themselves." According to Shinran's deep observation, that's my true nature. Sadly, no matter how hard I try to hide it or smooth things over, it seems impossible to change my true self at all. This has been very stressful because I didn't know what I could do to be free from this illness so that I can become a better person. However, Shinran taught me how important it is to reflect deeply upon my imperfect self in the teachings of the Nembutsu, just as he himself did. Fortunately, now I don't have any physical problems, but about 30 years ago, I was in a traffic accident. As a university student in Kyoto, I had a Honda motorcycle that looked like a Harley Davidson. It was really cool. I loved that motorcycle from the moment I saw it in my friend's motorcycle magazine. And around the same time, I had watched a famous movie called Easy Rider, which really got me interested in motorcycles. I saved money for 2 years working part-time. When I was 20, I finally was able to get the one I wanted. I still remember that day I went to the dealer with my friend to pick it up. It was a very exciting moment in my young life. However, 2 years later, I got in an accident on my way home from school. My apartment was about 5 miles away, so I always used the bypass. I was riding my motorcycle when suddenly a car in the lane to my right came into my lane and struck me. By the time I thought, watch out, it was too late. The moment I was hit, I was thrown onto the road. I was really not sure what had happened, but it really hurt. Fortunately, the driver who had hit me apologized for his carelessness and took me to the hospital. The doctor told me that my left leg was fractured, so he put it in a cast. Although it was a great shock to be involved in such an accident, I was very grateful that only my leg was hurt. Anyway, it was a scary and a terrible experience. I was to get the cast off around a month and a half after the accident. While wearing it, I was not able to move around as I wanted. Although I lived on my own in Kyoto, far from my parents, my mom often came all the way from home in Obama City to take care of me. She cooked my meals, washed my clothes, went grocery shopping for me, and so on, without being asked. She was always right there when I needed her help. During my recovery, I was not able to give nor help her with anything. All I gave her was a lot of trouble and extra work. Nevertheless, my mom was by my side so that I didn't have any problems during my recovery. At that time, I felt very embarrassed that I took for granted everything she did for me. I reflected deeply upon my arrogance that believed I could live alone without any help or support from my parents. Through this experience, I really was thankful for my mother's love, which didn't abandon me despite of my arrogance and selfishness. Especially, it was not till much later when I became a father of 2 children that I was able to fully appreciate my parents. We can say the same about Amida Buddha. Our relationship with Amida Buddha is comparable to this parent-child relationship. Even if we don't show our respect and gratitude for the great working of Amida Buddha, just as I don't always appreciate my mother's love and concern for me, Amida Buddha nonetheless embraces us. And even if the time or place or type of person we become changes, Amida Buddha will never abandon any of us. Do you know why? Shinran tells us about this in his writing, The Hymns of the Pure Land. The Tathagata of light that surpasses the sun and the moon taught me Nembutsu Samadhi. The Tathagatas of the 10 quarters compassionately regard each sentient being as their only child. His poem clearly shows us that the mind of Amida Buddha, which embraces all beings as a would only an only child, has been provided to each one of us as Nembutsu. Shinran really rejoiced at the words Buddha's only child. There is also saying in the Nirvana Sutra, the Tathagata, for the sake of every being, always acts as one's loving father and mother. Know that all sentient beings are Tathagata's children. In this way, Amida Buddha always takes our happiness as his own happiness, and our suffering as his own suffering. This is the compassion which reaches beyond the relationship between oneself and others. That's why it is called the great compassion. And it is just like the relationship between parent and child. Amida Buddha always embraces all the beings with his great compassion as if each were Buddha's precious only child. Therefore, it's very important for us to realize that each one of us is the Buddha's only child. To listen to the Buddha's primal vow is to fully realize that I, myself, am being embraced in Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. As I told you many times in my Dharma talks, when we begin to understand that Amida Buddha will always gently embrace, guide, and be with us no matter what might happen, then we can receive the great power of the Nembutsu to overcome any hardships with great joy and peace of mind. And then our deepest feelings of gratitude for the great compassion of Amida Buddha will naturally make us act for the benefit of others, because we wish for their happiness. That is just like the act of the Buddha's compassion, with gentle eyes, smiling face, and kind words to respect and be considerate of others, with the spirit of compromise to make our community a better place for others. That's the life of the Nembutsu, with an awareness of ourselves being guided and embraced by Amida Buddha. Anyway, if you recognize in yourself the same symptoms I described at the beginning of my talk, you undoubtedly also suffer from bamboo syndrome. Once we have been diagnosed with it, it is a serious problem, because our lives can be completely confused by selfishness. And as I mentioned, this illness is with us until when we die. But even when we realize that we cannot get rid of these symptoms completely, there is no reason to become depressed about it, because the Nembutsu path is always right in front of us. Even though we suffer from bamboo syndrome, the Nembutsu will help us understand how we can successfully live life. Amida Buddha is always with us in our voice of the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, no matter what our activity is, where we are, and what hour of the day it is. So, as we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, let's continue to ask Amida Buddha for his guidance. Thank you very much for your kind attention to my Dharma talk this morning. Please continue to stay healthy and have a great day. Thank you very much. Please join me in Gassho. The Tathagata of light that surpasses the sun and the moon taught me Nembutsu Samadhi. The Tathagata of the 10 quarters compassionately regard each sentient being as their only child. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you everyone for attending this morning's Shotsuki service. Thank you to the Dharma School High School class for reading the Threefold Refuge. And thank you to Reverend Mukojima for your Dharma talk today. I think it's very important for us to remember that we are bonbu, or imperfect beings, especially during this time. It really hits home, especially after the Dharma talk I gave a few weeks ago about my own foolish nature. So thank you very much, Reverend Mukojima. Please stay after this recording to a live presentation by the ABBA group about aging, memory, loss, and dementia. Thank you.